Hello everyone, my name is Hisham and today I'm going to show you how to manage state in React. Now, when working with web applications or applications in general, you usually want to store data. So for example, in the context of a social media website, maybe you have your profile information or your friends list. So you basically have an array of all the friends that you have. Or if it's a blog, for example, you have an array with all the posts that you posted, and you have to manage all of this information. Now, in programming, we can just manage this like using regular variables, just like you do with any programming language. But the thing is, these variables need to be synced with the user interface. So when I post a new post on my blog, I want the blog to automatically re-render and show the new post, right? Or for example, when I click on a button, that opens a menu. So usually when you click a button, you're gonna change some kind of Boolean to true. And when that's true, you're gonna show a menu, right? So you need something to keep your interface synchronized with your state. And that's where the useState hook comes in React, because using regular variables simply won't give you the automatic synchronization that you usually want, and that would actually make working with user interfaces very easy. Okay, so right now I'm gonna show you a small example on how you would actually approach this usually. So I'm gonna delete all the old code. I'm gonna keep this as onClick, right? And now, so this is our application from our previous video. It's very simple. So when you click the button, it actually like shows you a small event. But what we're looking for here is actually, we're gonna show some kind of information in our UI, and we want our interactions to actually change the stuff that's being shown to the user. Now, for example, okay, so I'm gonna create like a simple variable. I'm gonna call it let message, and I'm gonna, just gonna say hello world. And right now I'm gonna show that message. And to actually show variables inside of JSX in React, you actually need to use like these curly braces, because if you don't include them, then it's just a simple string. So yeah, if you want to pretty much like use JavaScript inside of JSX, you need to use it inside of these curly brackets. Okay, now so I'm gonna open the interface and we can see the message, right? Okay, so right now I'm gonna, on our click handler, right? Okay, I'm gonna move it inside our function so we can have access to the message variable. And what we're gonna do is that when we click the button, we're gonna change this message, right? Okay, so for example, I'm gonna type message equals button click, right? So by default, we're gonna have hello world. We're gonna show it. And then when you click the button, we're gonna call our function, our handler. We're gonna console log the event and we're gonna change the message to button clicked, right? So technically, this message should change when I click the button. Now I'm gonna click it. I'm gonna click, okay, see, it doesn't change, right? Now the variable is actually being changed, but the UI is not. So right now we have a variable has a different value than the user interface. So technically, you're showing the user incorrect information. Now, the way to fix this is that React actually provides you with a certain function. It's called technically a hook that allows you to manage state. Now, I'm going to show you how to use this hook. So instead of setting the message manually as a simple variable, now the message is actually going to be returned by our useState hook. So the syntax is we're going to type const. We're going to open an array. And yeah, so the first element is message. And the second element is the function that's going to update that message. I'm going to click equals. And yeah, so you also need to import this function because this is a React function. and I'm gonna hit Control Space, and I'm gonna click useState, and you can see that it was imported from the top here. Okay, I'm gonna save. Okay, so what do we have here now? useState is a hook returned by React. Now, what this hook does is it takes a default value. So by default, it's gonna get the hello world string, and it's gonna return an array. Now, this array has two elements inside of it. The first element is gonna be the message itself, so the string, and the second element is the function that's gonna update that string, right? So you don't update the message directly, you actually need to update it using this function. Now, so instead of doing message equals button clicked, what we're gonna do is actually call set message button clicked. So right now, this function is gonna update the message, and then this component will re-render, and it's gonna get the new message here, and it's gonna rerun like the return, and we're gonna have the new message, right? Now I'm gonna hit Control S. Now I'm gonna go back. So when I click button, see, now it changes. So it says button clicked. So right now our user interface is actually synchronized with our state. So we're actually showing the correct data to the user. So this is what you need to keep in mind in React. Pretty much if you have any type of information that needs to be synchronized with the user interface, then you pretty much always have to use useState. This is like a requirement. Now, other frameworks like Svelte actually don't need this. But yeah, that's just how React works. And like I said previously, whenever you run a function that updates the state, like the set message here, this entire component will re-render, which means everything will be redefined, but React will handle the data, will handle persisting the data between different re-renders, because when you rerun this function, technically you can lose all the information, but React internally actually manages the state by itself. So you don't have to worry about that. As long as you use useState, everything will be good to go. And if you want to learn more about how useState works, you can check the official documentation. It goes extremely in depth on how useState works. Now, the cool thing about the documentation, they don't only explain how useState works, but they also have a vanilla implementation of useState. So they actually have a complete example of how useState works without React. So it's really cool if you want to understand how useState works internally, because this will definitely help you understand why certain things are done a certain way in React, especially when when you may have to use like these optimization hooks in the future. I'm gonna do a separate video on those, but in order to understand how to use those, it's extremely good to understand how hooks in general work, and especially useState, since pretty much this is the basis for any kind of state management in React. Now, I hope my explanation of useState was good, and now you understand how useState works. And in my next video, I'm going to show you how to use the React DevTools to pretty much observe how state is managed inside of your application, and you can actually have a deeper understanding of how things are done inside of React. So yeah, thank you for watching, and see you in my next video.